This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
WABC New York, WRCR Haverstraw, and 107.1 WLIR Hampton Bays.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Good morning. This is James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden on this Wednesday. It's August 27th, and you're waking up to partly cloudy skies around the tri-state. Winds mostly calm. 64 degrees right now in Midtown. Here's the three-day 77 WABC weather forecast to get things going. Later today, partly sunny. Clouds will burn off with a high near 77 WABC degrees. Tonight going into Thursday, mostly clear, the low near 60. Friday, there is a chance of rain, partly sunny, getting up to 78. 54 degrees right now in Morristown, New Jersey, 65 in Malvern on Long Island, 64 here in Midtown Manhattan. Let's get into our top 5 headlines this morning, shall we?
The top 5 at 5.
President Trump continues to take a tough stance against crime in our nation's cities, in this case calling for murderers in Washington, D.C. to face the death penalty. Cracker Barrel is admitting it totally screwed up this one. The restaurant chain is reversing course and going back to its old logo with Uncle Herschel and the Cracker Barrel. Gunfire ripped out in the Bronx yesterday. 4 separate shootings reported. 2 people are dead. An on-duty Amazon driver was shot while sitting in his delivery van. A shocking moment in Elizabeth, New Jersey yesterday. A car went into a Planet Fitness gym. A man was killed. Several others hurt. And cue the wedding bells, as Taylor Swift said on Instagram, your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married. The pop star and her now fiancé, NFL star tight end Travis Kelce, made their upcoming wedding announcement yesterday. So down in Washington, D.C., it's been a busy couple of days, a busy week or so, as President Trump has moved to take over the Washington, D.C. Police Department, the federal takeover of the police department. Also, National Guard members deployed there to the nation's capital, and the capital city has gone over 12 days without reporting a murder. Well, President Trump says he wants the death penalty for any murders in Washington, D.C., and he was touting the National Guard's intervention in D.C. Trump says if anybody murders someone in the nation's capital, they get capital punishment. And he called it a very strong preventative measure. Trump made those comments during what was the 7th cabinet meeting of his second term. So you've heard all about this with Cracker Barrel. Its share price taking a beating recently following a planned redesign of stores, kind of brightening up the whole interior, taking down some of the antique decor on the walls, and most controversially, changing up the logo. Cracker Barrel had announced it was going to go with this more static, simple Cracker Barrel lettering on a yellow background logo, taking away Uncle Herschel, who was a relative of the original founder, and the drawing of him alongside a Cracker Barrel has been the company's logo for many, many years. Well, Cracker Barrel doing a 180, going to ditch this new logo. It was just unveiled last week and got rid of the older guy leaning up against the barrel. The response mostly negative. And late yesterday, the company said in a statement, our new logo is going away. Our old-timer will remain. Even President Trump had weighed in on the controversy, suggesting the restaurant should admit its mistake based on customer response. It seems that's what they did. And then President Trump took to Truth Social to say, congratulations, Cracker Barrel, on changing your logo back to what it was. All your fans very much appreciate it. Good luck in the future. Make lots of money. And most importantly, make your customers happy again. And it will seem as though, as connected to the logo anyway, people will be happy because there's a lot of unhappiness tied to that new logo. Violent crime, just a perception. That's what we routinely hear from elected officials in New York City. Well, last night, perception turned to reality in the Bronx, and not even really last night. It was mostly during daylight hours yesterday. Over an 8-hour span, 4 separate shootings left 2 people dead and another 2 injured, including an Amazon delivery worker. It was at just past 8 o'clock yesterday morning when a 32-year-old man, later identified as Clay Monsanto, was shot in the back and killed. That was in the Tremont section. No arrests made there. Several hours later, early afternoon, a little past 1 o'clock, a 34-year-old man, later identified as Kelvin Mosquea, was found with a gunshot wound to the torso. In the Soundview section, taken to Jacoby Medical Center, he was pronounced dead. As for the Amazon delivery worker, sounds like he's going to be okay, identified as a 31-year-old man caught in the crossfire when 2 individuals, according to police, began shooting at each other at the corner of Bryant Avenue and East Tremont Avenue. That was around 2:30 in the West Farms section. So a neighbor said she heard 2 gunshots, followed by 5. That, of course, happened during the time of day when kids will be getting out of school in just a few days. And there's an elementary school right across the street, PS 6. The victim, police say, was not the intended target. That delivery driver shot in the ankle while sitting in his truck and taken to the hospital. He's expected to be okay. Amazon said in a statement they're aware of the situation and working to support the delivery driver any way they can. I feel like I'm missing a shooting there, as a matter of fact. But anyway, we do know that the 2 people who died were in those particular shootings, and then one of the injured in a separate shooting, the Amazon delivery worker. Over to New Jersey now. 1 person is dead, several others injured. A car crashed through the front window, the front plate glass window of a Planet Fitness gym in Elizabeth. And this was around 12:30 yesterday afternoon. The gym, located along Newark Avenue in Elizabeth Union County. The Jeep crashed through the front windows, ended up close to 15 feet inside the gym. So that's a pretty long way to go once you've actually crashed through the window. Cops say 1 man died, 3 others taken to the hospital following the crash. One of the injured was on a treadmill at the time. Not clear if the driver of the Jeep lost control, had like a medical incident maybe. Whatever it was, not entirely clear right at this time. All right, so let's hit pause on our top 5, because I know everybody's super excited to talk about Taylor Swift's upcoming wedding, right? Or is it Travis Kelce's wedding? I guess it depends on your perspective. WABC News Time, 5:07. Our first check of traffic and transit with the very big Taylor Swift fan, Joe Nolan.
I don't think there's any doubt that it's Taylor Swift's wedding. I don't think there's any question about that.
No, that's very true, especially because when it comes to a wedding, you're always focused on the bride anyway, right?
Absolutely, and Kelce is just sort of on the, he's just sort of there.
He's there for the ride. In more ways than one.
Where do I show up? Where do I show up, and what do I wear?
Exactly.
That's all he needs to know.
Well, apparently, and this is what we're going to talk about in a second, this will be a major trend setter when it comes to weddings and stuff.
It's going to be the biggest wedding in this country in years.
Yeah.
Years.
It'll be like a royal wedding.
Yeah.
What is it already? WABC News Time coming up on 5:09 this Wednesday morning, and this is James Flippin filling in for Noam Layden. So we were just talking about it, right? Everybody's going to be paying attention. Well, at least some people will be paying attention. A good portion of the population paying attention to the upcoming Taylor Swift-Travis Kelce wedding.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me.
So she had just announced that she's going to have this new album coming out, The Life of a Showgirl. I think that's what it's called. And now Taylor Swift grabbing the headlines again. She and Travis Kelce are getting hitched. The superstar, singer-songwriter, made that announcement with a Instagram post, and the caption reads, "Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married." The couple started dating back in 2023, and Swift is preparing to release that 12th studio album. Kelce getting ready to play his 12th season for the Kansas City Chiefs, and although his play, I guess in terms of the overall level, has kind of taken a step back recently, he's an all-time great in the NFL, definitely one of the best tight ends in history. And so his dad, the father of Travis Kelce, kind of giving some insight here. He talked to a Cleveland news station and said, actually, the dish is that Taylor and Travis were engaged around 2 weeks ago in Missouri. and the Instagram post kind of just made it official. President Trump commenting on this during that cabinet meeting yesterday. At first, he said he wishes them a lot of luck, and that was met with some laughter. Of course, Trump has been a sharp critic of Swift after she endorsed Kamala Harris for president, but Trump added that Kelce's a great player and Swift is a terrific person. Now, we don't really know any major details, of course, as to this wedding. It just got announced. But experts say the entire affair will be copied by couples around the country.
People already follow if she's wearing something in particular, be her friendship bracelets or whatever. It's a trendsetter.
That's wedding planner Tracy French. She predicts that Swift's bridal gown will instantly be a bestseller. And she says grooms will try to copy Travis Kelce's look. But everybody will be basically also paying attention to not just the clothes, but also the songs that the couple dances to.
You know, people love a love story. And so everybody's excited, I think, to see these two get married.
No matter what, wedding planner Tracy French here, she says it'll be a trendsetter.
Because people will be following along. They'll want to know, well, what are they doing? Where are they going?
And we are just about getting back to school around the tri-state, as coming up on Labor Day, the unofficial end of summer is coming up and going to be upon us. So that means packing healthy lunches for kids as they head back to school. And we now hear from Jennifer Highland, who is a dietitian at the Cleveland Clinic. She says parents need to try to have a grain, protein, fruit, veggie, and healthy fat type of lunch while avoiding snacky items, including packaged chips and crackers and sugary drinks. Come on, no chips?
Kids, especially the younger kids who they're just starting out for the first time having this full day at school, right? It's a lot on them. So we need to make sure that we're giving them those nutrients to help fuel them through the day. Think about it by food groups and break down what you're going to have in that lunch, right? So we want to have a grain, we want to have a protein, we want to have a fruit and a veggie, we want to have a healthy fat and or a dairy product as possible.
Highland says it's not really complicated. You could do something like a sandwich, a wrap, pasta salad, leftovers from the fridge. Maybe get children involved in saying what they want to try to sample from each food group. Yesterday on the mayoral campaign trail, you did not actually have an official campaign event for Mayor Eric Adams, but he did take time to honor 13-year-old brain cancer fighter DJ Daniel, who was honored at City Hall as a deputy mayor for public safety.
In this city, public safety has always been the administration's top priority, and it has been DJ's top priority as well. He has set the Guinness Book of World Record for being sworn into the most law enforcement agencies by being sworn into over 1,300.
And also you had action from Andrew Cuomo. He was given a campaign event up in the Bronx where he said,
New York City should be ashamed of the way it has treated the Bronx, because it is a disgrace how this city has not been fair to the Bronx.
He didn't take any questions. And then Republican and independent candidate Curtis Sliwa, he did take questions from reporters. He was digging in on the official crime stats for the city, something that have come under scrutiny recently. And Curtis saying he doesn't really trust those crime stats.
How can the police commissioner, Tish James, say it's a perception of crime, or as the police commissioner likes to say, these acts of violence, these gang shootings are just an anomaly, when in fact these mass shootings are occurring more and more, as we've seen in this last month.
And we have attempted to correct his pronunciation of anomaly, but it just hasn't necessarily taken. Next week, after Labor Day, things are expected to certainly pick up for the mayor's race, with Election Day coming in early November. New York City officials announcing a new investment in the Bronx, which is aimed at improving public safety.
Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson made an announcement of $1.5 million to the NYPD and the Department of Sanitation, all in the name of public safety.
These are the agencies that we entrust to keep our borough safe and clean, but guess what? They cannot do it alone. And that is why we are all in this together, because clean streets are safe streets.
The funds will be used for security cameras and the Patrol Borough Bronx. She says the move will help combat illegal dumping and improve quality of life for those in the Bronx. Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
WABC News time, 5:15, and we'll get into this issue again, the whole idea of crime stats and what's going to happen with cashless bail and National Guard members being deployed to U.S. cities to try to fight crime. We're going to get there in a second, including what Governor Kathy Hochul and New York City Mayor Eric Adams have to say. But right now, going to get the latest in sports from Justin Ellick.
Well, I've been told it's incumbent upon me to bring up this engagement from yesterday.
Yeah, but you said you weren't going to do it in sports.
Yeah.
You said it's not a sports story.
Yeah, but I'm not. I don't have executive order here. So
okay. So Sid is producing on this.
So
one.
I have to congratulate. Apparently,
he said he doesn't make his own decisions.
I don't. I can't. Yeah. So I have to congratulate.
All right. Well, then really what you should say is that future Hall of Fame tight end Travis Kelce.
I can't even get the words out.
He's going to get married.
So gross.
Why? What do you hate love? What do you hate marriage?
This is not real love. This is not.
You just think it's a performative, showbiz marriage.
They were nice photos, I guess. Well, he needed some.
Your gym teacher's getting married. Justin, aren't you excited?
He needed some excuse, James Flippin, to get some sort of ring this offseason.
Burn!
Couldn't get one.
Burn! Yeah, because he doesn't have enough as a member of the Chiefs.
Right, exactly. Couldn't get one last year. Obviously, playing the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl, being a non-factor, even moping on the sidelines most of the game. And, and
he is coming up into his 12th season here. I mean, you can't play forever.
Well, then retire.
Well, his brother did.
Exactly.
Yeah, he will soon.
So, all right. Well, he's going to retire a married man then, apparently.
I guess so. We don't know when exactly they're going to get married. They could be engaged for years and years and years.
This is going on much too long. Why are we still talking about this?
Sid said it's the top story.
I hate this story with every fiber of my being, and now you're making me go do the whole thing on this. This is ridiculous.
No.
All right.
I want to know what happens on Friday with the Mets. That's
okay,
for sure.
Fine. We'll get to it here. Out in Queens, congratulations to Kelce and Taylor Swift there on their engagement. Out in Queens, out of baseball to stuff that really matters. Brandon Nimmo singled home the winning run in the ninth. Pete Alonso had 4 hits, and the Mets walked off the Phils 6-5. They pulled within 5 games of first place Philadelphia in the NL East by winning their 9th straight against the rival Phillies at home. Up next for the Mets, now 3.5 games up on Cincinnati for the third and final NL wild card. The rookie Nolan McLean will get the start in tonight's series finale against Philadelphia as the Mets all try for a series sweep there. First pitch from Queens is scheduled for 7:10. Speaking of another incoming rookie for the Mets, they're calling up top-tier pitching prospect Jonah Tong. Manager Carlos Mendoza announced yesterday as the club continues to bolster its staff with young talent for the stretch run. Mendoza said Tong will start against the Miami Marlins on Friday in his major league debut. Mets fans and flipping there looking ahead to that. To the Bronx, Giancarlo Stanton hit a 450-foot 2-run homer in the 6th and drove in 5 runs for the first time since 2022 to lead the Yankees to a 5-1 victory over the Washington Nationals. The Yanks won their 3rd straight and remained a half game behind Boston for the AL's top wild card spot. Up next for the Yankees, sitting in 3rd place in the division, 4.5 games back of first place Toronto. The ace Max Fried will get the start in this afternoon's series finale against Washington, with the Yanks also vying for a series sweep. First pitch from the Bronx is scheduled for 1:05 p.m. And to tennis here quickly at Flushing Meadows, Coco Gauff prevailed yesterday. The number 3 seed held on for a 6-4, 6-7, 7-5 victory over Ajla Tomljanovic to reach the second round. Also defending champion on the men's side, Jannik Sinner was dominated in his first round open win yesterday, starting his title defense with a 6-1, 6-1, 6-2 victory over Vit Koprova. That is your sports, James Flippin, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Excellent job, Justin.
Thank you,
really on the pulse of the zeitgeist.
I'm doing the best I can over here. Yeah.
WABC News time.
He doesn't know what zeitgeist means. Try again.
It's coming up 5:20. He doesn't want to talk tennis or Travis Kelce or Taylor Swift. He wants Rutgers football. It's Joseph Nolan, traffic and transit.
I'd love to talk Tay-Tay. I love her. I think she's great. Get married. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be a great story.
James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden this week as he is on vacation. So we got you here on the 5 a.m. news hour leading up to Sid Rosenberg, Sid and Friends in the morning. Some of New York's top politicians, including Governor Kathy Hochul and Mayor Eric Adams, are reacting now to President Trump's executive order that would withhold federal funding to cities and states that don't end cashless bail, which is something New York has going on. Adams is a critic of bail reform, which was passed into law for New York in 2019.
We need to look at what we did with bail reform to make sure we didn't go too far in the wrong direction. New Yorkers must be safe, and those who are repeated offenders need to be held accountable.
But Hochul says she's actually since changed the law, allowing judges to have more discretion to potentially keep dangerous suspects locked up.
You know, he's just trying to throw gasoline on a fire. We don't need that. We got our own fires under control here. We do not need the federal government.
And both Hochul and Adams, in terms of that idea of sending National Guard members into New York to fight crime, saying, no, we don't want that.
Mr. President, I can give you all the data you need to show that crime is down.
Here in New York, we don't need National Guard. We have clearly shown that crime is under control.
And it's not just here in New York. You're probably not surprised to hear California also leading the charge in opposing the use of National Guard members to fight crime.
Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee.
Donald Trump is just downright wrong about Oakland, like he's wrong about all the other cities that he trashed.
On Monday, President Trump signed orders to address crime in Democratic-led cities like Oakland. Last week, he proposed San Francisco to improve safety. California is already involved in a lawsuit to see if the president acted illegally by sending troops to Los Angeles for law enforcement. I'm Brian Shook.
All right, so let's talk about President Trump for a second here. Back in New York, the president appealing a recent court ruling that tossed out the $500 million fraud penalty against him. Why is he appealing that? Well, the ruling left in place a penalty barring Trump or his sons from serving in executive roles at New York companies. And this was the appeals court decision that wiped the penalty but upheld the funding that Trump was liable for civil fraud. Because basically the appeals court just said the penalty was excessive, and lawyers for the president filed a notice of appeal yesterday announcing their intention to challenge the ruling overall. President Trump says he's not too worried about new legal threats from Federal Reserve Board Governor Lisa Cook following her step of being fired. Trump fired her.
She seems to have had an infraction, and she can't have an infraction, especially that infraction, because she's in charge of, if you think about it, mortgages, and we need people that are 100% above board, and it doesn't seem like she was.
Yeah, basically, Cook's removal follows a Justice Department criminal investigation into the board governor. She was accused of making false statements on home mortgage applications by Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pult. An attorney for Cook says Trump has no authority to remove her and that the firing lacks factual or legal basis. Cook has not been charged with a crime. She says she's gathering accurate financial records to respond to the allegation. If a lawsuit moves forward, the case could end up being decided by the Supreme Court.
People are paying too high an interest rate. That's the only problem with housing. We have to get the rates down a little bit.
And the expectation is that as soon as next month, the Federal Reserve could decide to cut rates, which would lower mortgage costs. Indiana Republican lawmakers met with President Trump at the White House yesterday, and this as part of the redistricting effort or the gerrymandering effort, something that's going on in Texas. California Democrats were moving to respond there. Dozens of Indiana Republicans met with officials, including Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. Indiana may become the next state to redraw its congressional maps to favor more Republicans this ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. The Indiana General Assembly is controlled by Republicans. India being hit with 50% tariffs from the U.S. as punishment for buying oil from Russia. The tax on imports from India went into effect today. The U.S. and India yet to reach one of these trade agreements amid President Trump's negotiations, but the president's been insisting that India stop buying Russian oil while negotiations are underway to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. Vice President J.D. Vance telling Meet the Press Sunday the U.S. was applying aggressive economic leverage on India to try to make it harder for Russians to have a profit from that oil economy. Back home in the tri-state, a beloved actor, a New Jersey native, is continuing to battle a type of dementia. His loved ones shared the latest yesterday.
On Good Morning America, Bruce Willis's wife, Emma Hemming Willis, shared an update on the actor's health. Willis has been battling frontotemporal dementia, a type of dementia, for 3 years.
Bruce is in really great health overall. You know, it's just his brain that is failing him. Yeah, the language is going. And, you know, we've learned to adapt, and we have a way of communicating with him, which is just a different way.
Willis is 70 years old. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
Coming Friday, September 5th, it's 77 WABC's Gala in Midtown Manhattan. We are kicking off the 250th anniversary of America and celebrating 77 WABC being number one in the country and the world. There will be special performances by Lee Greenwood of God Bless the USA fame.
And I'm proud to be an American.
He will be our featured guest. He's going to be performing. We asked him what it means to be a part of a celebration honoring America's 250th birthday.
To celebrate with WABC, which is the 100,000-watt station out of New York, not only is it a privilege, but I know the Castaminis very well. I'm just so excited to be in New York with them and to kick off this beginning of what will be our 250-year anniversary of the United States of America.
Other guests include Christopher Macchio, Tony Orlando, Cousin Brucey, Joe Piscopo, and Vinny Medugno. There are a limited amount of tickets available at WABCRadioFoundation.org. Coming up Friday, September 5th, 77 WABC's annual gala. Tickets at WABCRadioFoundation.org. WABC News Time, 5:29. Let's check in on our business desk here as the latest data is out for fall leasing in the office sector.
Office leasing is up in Manhattan, but Cranes reports a Class A Soho office building at 660 Broadway has gone into foreclosure. The Brooklyn Diocese is planning a 99-unit residential project on Coney Island. And the family company that developed New York's famous rooftop water towers hopes to transform the low-rise LaGuardia shopping center in Astoria into a new project with almost 500 residential units. Joe Connolly, 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time, 5:30. Rapper Lil Nas X is speaking out after his arrest in Los Angeles. Also, Governor Hochul says data shows New York doesn't need the National Guard to help fight crime. An update on that home explosion near St. Louis. And what are we going to learn next month about autism? All that and more on the 77 WABC 5 a.m. News Hour. I'm James Flippin, in for Noam Laden.
The 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
On 77 WABC. It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam.
On 77 WABC.
Good morning. James Flippin in for Noam Laden this week as he's on vacation. It is Wednesday, August 27th, and we've got partly cloudy skies around the tri-state. Temperatures holding steady around 64 degrees with calm winds. Here's your 3-day weather forecast. Today, partly sunny, a high near 77 WABC degrees. Going into Thursday overnight, mostly clear, a low near 60. And then we've got basically mostly clear skies on Thursday with a high in the low 80s. Friday, a chance of rain, partly sunny, getting up to 78. 55 right now in Morristown, 66 in Malvern on Long Island, 64 in Midtown Manhattan. One of our top 5 headlines today, that Cracker Barrel is doing a 180. That restaurant chain ditching that new logo.
Cracker Barrel unveiled its new text-only logo last week, ditching the restaurant's iconic image of an older man leaning against a barrel. The response was mostly negative, and late Tuesday, the company said in a statement the new logo is going away and the old-timer will remain. Even President Trump weighed in on the controversy, advising the restaurant chain should admit a mistake based on customer response. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
And they did admit that mistake, it seems. Lil Nas X is assuring fans he'll be okay following his arrests in Los Angeles last week. Lil Nas X, real name Montero Lamar Hill, was hospitalized on suspicion of an overdose and arrested after officers found the 26-year-old walking naked on Ventura Boulevard. Best known for the song Old Town Road, the performer addressed the incident on social media after pleading not guilty to 4 felony charges. He also posted a $75,000 bail. That was on Monday. Lil Nas X facing up to 5 years in prison if convicted. He told fans, "It's been a terrifying last 4 days, but your girl is going to be all right." Also music news, one of our top 5 headlines today, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged.
The superstar singer-songwriter made the announcement in a post on Instagram. The caption read, "Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married." The couple started dating in 2023. Swift is preparing to release her 12th studio album, while Kelce is getting ready to play his 12th season for the Kansas City Chiefs. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
Authorities believe the house explosion near St. Louis was caused by natural gas, the most likely cause of the blast Monday morning. Spire Energy says that there were no leaks or reports of a possible leak before the explosion. 5 people injured, over 20 homes destroyed or damaged. A teenager still in critical condition, 18-year-old Dantea Hardy, was in the basement of a home at the time of the explosion and had no choice but to run through flames to escape. And that 18-year-old resulted in 85% of his body burned. 85%. Jeez. A GoFundMe for Dantea and his family, already raising more than $30,000. In Wisconsin, a man who faked his own death and fled the country will spend 89 days in jail. Talking about Ryan Bergwart, who pled guilty yesterday to misdemeanor obstruction. He staged his disappearance with an overturned kayak on a Wisconsin lake, then traveled to Canada and Asia, eventually settled in the Republic of Georgia. Investigators say he escaped to be with a woman he'd met on a dating app, leaving behind his wife and children in Wisconsin. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is set to announce the causes of autism following a widespread investigation by next month.
Kennedy has previously vowed to find the cause of growing rates of autism, calling it an epidemic that dwarfs the COVID epidemic. The HHS secretary discussed his intentions to reveal the causes of autism during a cabinet meeting held by President Trump on Tuesday. Kennedy has long claimed that environmental factors or vaccines are likely culprits behind the rising rate of autism diagnoses. I'm Brian Shook.
WABC News Time, 5:37. WABC News Time coming up 5:39. James Flippin filling in for Noam Layden on the 77 WABC 5 a.m. News Hour. Let's check some technology items here. Apple announcing a launch event scheduled at its campus next month. The tech giant sent invites to media and analysts for the event, which is going to be held September 9th. Analysts expect Apple to release a lineup of new iPhones as well as new Apple Watch models. And the company says the tagline for the invite is awe-dropping. Apple plans to stream the event on its website. OpenAI is being sued by a California couple who accuse the AI chatbot ChatGPT of helping their teenage son to commit suicide. The lawsuit filed yesterday claims the chatbot helped 16-year-old Adam Rain to explore suicide methods and helped him write the first draft of his suicide note. The 40-page lawsuit names OpenAI and its CEO Sam Altman as defendants. It accuses them of wrongful death, design defects, and failure to warn of the risks associated with ChatGPT. Boeing Defense Company is putting off contract talks with striking machinists until after Labor Day. About 3,200 members of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers went on strike at the Boeing Defense Plant near St. Louis on August 4th. And that's after rejecting the company's 4-year contract offer. Yesterday, a Boeing spokesperson said there are no plans to return to the negotiating table until after the holiday. The Congressional Labor Caucus urging Boeing to resume talks, and it responded on X by saying it's time for the workers to receive the strong contract that they deserve. New York Governor Kathy Hochul argues the data shows the Empire State doesn't need the National Guard to help fight crime.
More than a year after the state cracked down on organized retail theft rings, Governor Kathy Hochul says stores in New York City have seen a nearly 12% decrease in retail crime.
Just to come out here again, neighborhoods that I visited during the height of this crisis, to hear from them on whether they feel the effects, and the answer is a resounding yes.
New York State Police Captain Trini Young says more than 1,000 arrests have been made and millions of dollars in goods recovered. I'm Lisa Ritchie for 77 WABC News.
Peace be with you all, towards an unarmed and disarming peace. That's the theme for Pope Leo XIV's 2026 World Day of Peace. A statement from the Vatican says the theme invites humanity to reject the logic of violence and war and to embrace an authentic peace based on love and justice. The 2026 World Day of Peace set for January 1st. Wouldn't it be nice if every dispute could be settled with something as simple as rock, paper, scissors? Today, we celebrate the definitive and oldest dispute settling game.
The hand game dates back to about 206 BC in China. What we play today is very different from the original, which used a slug, a snake, and a frog. The rock is thrown the most, followed by paper, then scissors. Women throw scissors most, men rock. There are books on strategy and psychology as to what to play. But it is just a simple game with 3 components.
Rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock.
5 if you watch The Big Bang Theory. I'm Bree Tennis.
Get you our sports update from Justin in just a few minutes here, but the tennis world centering on Flushing, Queens this week, and so we'll tell you all about the action at the 2025 U.S. Open. Top-seeded Yannick Sinner, third-seeded Alexander Zverev, and 8th-seeded Alex de Minaur, as well as 10th-seeded Lorenzo Musetti, all advanced with first-round victories. 14th-seeded American Tommy Paul was the lone American to advance to the second round yesterday. Over on the women's side, second-seeded Iga Swiatek and third-seeded Coco Gauff each claimed victories. 8th-seeded American Amanda Anisimova will be advancing to the next round alongside fellow Americans Ashley Kruger and Haley Baptiste. The second round begins this morning. You can soon take a private nap at one South Florida airport while waiting on your flight. Private nap rooms coming to Miami International Airport potentially as soon as November. And those nap rooms going to cost you between $30 and $60 an hour. Miami-Dade commissioners approved the idea last year. A company called Wait and Rest going to set up 2 noise-canceling private rooms equipped with beds and Wi-Fi. The Department of Justice is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to allow the Trump administration to withhold billions of dollars in foreign aid.
On Tuesday, the DOJ filed an emergency appeal requesting the court pause a federal judge's order that would force the Trump administration to continue making payments. The administration wants the high court to intervene before the deadline set by the order, September 30th. The aid has already been approved by Congress, and the DOJ argues that only Congress has the authority to challenge the administration's efforts to withhold it. I'm Mark Mayfield.
And Department of Homeland Security yesterday on social media saying, let's call him Uganda Man. Talking about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was identified in some news outlets as Maryland Man when he faced deportation earlier this year. His lawyers are now seeking asylum. Abrego Garcia originally immigrated to the U.S. from El Salvador. A court filing yesterday said his lawyers have filed an emergency motion to reopen his case before an immigration judge to seek asylum in the U.S. Abrego Garcia was in Maryland when he was deported back to El Salvador last March, but there was an earlier order of protection in connection to alleged gang activity. So he was returned to the U.S. He was also indicted for human trafficking as related to a traffic stop in Tennessee, and then Abrego was arrested, now threatened with deportation to Uganda. And apparently he was offered a chance to be deported to Costa Rica if he pled guilty to human trafficking, but he said no. A U.S. district judge is blocking customs officials from deporting him. The Who's Pete Townsend opening up about a recent addiction.
The spring flies, speedboat glides, and people forget their hiding.
In a conversation with the New York Times, the guitarist and singer said the recent battle came after knee surgery this year when he became dependent on pain medication that was prescribed to him. Townsend said he was going through a period of feeling depressed and got re-addicted to painkillers. He said he'd been clean for over 30 years and ended up calling a close friend who works in a recovery clinic. Despite relapsing, the singer said he's feeling good now. The Who are currently on their North American The Song Is Over farewell tour. I'm Mark Mayfield.
WABC News Time, 5:46. Let's get the latest in sports now from Justin Elliott. Justin?
Well, thank you, James Flippin. Quick congratulations to Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift on their engagement. Now moving on to the Diamond in the Bronx.
Nicely done.
Carl Stanton hit a 451-foot two-run homer in the sixth inning and drove in 5 runs for the first time since 2022 to lead the Yankees to a 5-1 victory over the Washington Nationals. The Yanks won their third straight and remained a half game behind Boston for the AL's top wild card spot. Stanton gave the Yanks a 5-1 lead when he lifted a slider from Orlando Ribalta about halfway up the left field bleachers for his 5th homer in 7 games. His 446th career shot was the highlight of his first game with at least 5 RBI since May 12th of 2022. Stanton also hit a bases-clearing double off the top of the left field fence with 2 outs in the third to give the Yankees a 3-1 lead off Washington starter Mackenzie Gore. He is hitting .346. That's 17 for 49 with runners in scoring position this season. Starter Luis Gil allowed 5 hits and 1 run in 5 innings, striking out 5 Nats along the way. Anthony Volpe did return after sitting out 2 games and with a dud. Went 0 for 4. Up next for the Yankees, sitting in 3rd place in the division, 4.5 games back of first place Toronto. The ace Max Fried will get to start in this afternoon's series finale against Washington. Yanks vying for a series sweep. First pitch from the Bronx is scheduled for 1:05 p.m. in Queens. Brandon Nimmo singled home the winning run in the 9th. Pete Alonso had 4 hits, and the Mets walked off the Phillies 6-5. Alonso delivered a 2-run double in a 5-run fifth that gave New York a 5-2 lead. Harrison Bader then tied it for Philly with a 2-run homer in the 8th off struggling reliever Ryan Helsley. He was booed off the field by the crowd of 41,914, 915 if you count James Flippin at home, also booing him off the field.
Well, I was actually sleeping at the time, so
okay.
I wasn't available to
right,
boo him off the
because you had to come in here early.
But I would have.
Okay, gotcha.
And at this point, there has to be something going on. He has to be tipping his pitches or something like that.
You think so?
I mean, come on.
Yeah, his stuff is too good
He's
to be
not
struggling
that
like
bad.
this. Yeah, no,
He's got like a 10 ERA since he came over.
And he was.
What is it already?
I don't know, but he was way too good before he got here to not be good now. So, I mean, he's got to figure it out. He's got that Devin Williams syndrome coming to New York. Hey, now. Mm-hmm. Up next for the Mets, now 3.5 games up on Cincinnati for the 3rd and final NL wild card. The rookie Nolan McLean will get the start in tonight's series finale against Phillies. The Mets also try for a series sweep. First pitch there, 7:10 p.m. from Citi Field. Mets are also calling up top-tier pitching prospect Jonah Tong. Manager Carlos Mendoza announced yesterday as the club continues to bolster its staff with young talent for the stretch run. Tong will start against the Miami Marlins on Friday in his major league debut. And as previously mentioned there by a Flippin, you did have tennis, of course, again yesterday at Flushing Meadows. Coco Gauff prevails in her first round of a victory over Ajla Tomljanovic to reach the 2nd round. Also defending champion on the men's side, Yannick Sinner. He was dominated in his first round victory over Vit Koprova. He moves on. Today, 1 p.m., you do have an American in action, Taylor Fritz against Lloyd Harris in round 2. 3 p.m. tonight, or this afternoon, I should say. American Francis Tiafoe gets his 2nd round underway against Martin Dam. And tonight at 8:30 p.m., the nightcap, American Ben Shelton will get his 2nd round against Pablo Carreno Busta underway there. That is your Sports James, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time, 5:51. And we're kicking off America's 250th birthday party with a celebration of our own, a big bash, 77 WABC's annual gala, Friday, September 5th. And you can get tickets, WABCRadioFoundation.org. But those tickets are going to run out, so go ahead and check it out, WABCRadioFoundation.org. Lee Greenwood among the acts that will be performing there. And how about this? A New York Times article has 10 tastemakers picking out their song of the summer. And among those tastemakers, candidates for mayor, Zohran Mamdani, and Republican independent Curtis Sliwa. I don't recognize the Zohran song because I'm too old, but Curtis has the song, The Best Day of My Life. Da, 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 da. That's the one that he picked as his song of the summer. Okay, this one's not as uplifting or fun, but Bruce Willis' wife says her husband's brain is failing him. Emma Hemming Willis telling ABC News the Die Hard star's language is going. He's battling dementia, and she says Bruce is still very mobile and really in great health overall. The 70-year-old Willis diagnosed in 2023 with frontotemporal dementia, or FTD. Hemming Willis says the two have learned to adapt and that they communicate differently than how they always did. Well, 77 WABC host Greg Kelly will be very excited about this one. A major 6-year trial involving Harvard University and 23 Spanish hospitals is providing more encouraging news about the Mediterranean diet. It shows older adults who combined diet with regular exercise had a 31% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. The study involved nearly 5,000 people aged 55 to 75 who were overweight and had metabolic syndrome. The Mediterranean diet, what is that? Well, it's heavy on fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, olive oil and fish, but a limited amount of meat. Another newly published study finds it may protect against Alzheimer's disease. U.S. News and World Report rating the Mediterranean diet the world's best 8 years in a row, including last year. A New Mexico man recovering now after being discharged from the hospital with plague. According to the New Mexico Health Department, a 43-year-old man was hospitalized with the condition, marking the state's first human case of plague this year. The CDC says it is treatable with commonly available antibiotics, and the chances of full recovery are higher if a patient seeks medical care early on. Chilly weather around the tri-state lately. It's only 62 degrees right now. Fall definitely coming on. It feels like, well, next spring, it'll be a cold opening day for Major League Baseball.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. 'Cause it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
The 2026 Major League Baseball schedule out now. The season going to get underway with the San Francisco Giants hosting the New York Yankees March 25th in a standalone opening night matchup. Traditional opening day going to see the 14-game slate March 26th. That is the earliest in Major League Baseball history. By the way, the All-Star game going to be played July 14th in Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park. A WWE champion is facing backlash from Ozzy Osbourne's daughter over comments that she made during a recent show. Kelly Osbourne taking issue with Women's Intercontinental Champion Becky Lynch bringing up her dad during Monday's episode of Raw, which was in Birmingham, England. Lynch said the only good thing to come from Birmingham died a month ago, but that she would die too if she lived there. In an Instagram story post, Kelly called Lynch a dirtbag and added shame on WWE for allowing such things to be said about my father and his home. Of course, Ozzy Osbourne, longtime connected to the World Wrestling Entertainment Federation, so it's not really clear if Kelly's response is genuine or maybe part of the storyline. More Gen Zers in America are becoming less inclined to describe themselves as thriving.
The annual Voices of Gen Z surveyed participants between the ages of 13 and 28 and found that 45% of them described themselves as thriving, marking a drop from the 49% who considered themselves thriving in 2024 and the 47% who said the same in the 2023 study. Researchers believe the drop is likely fueled by adult members of Gen Z, as only 39% of them see themselves in a good place. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
And as if on cue, consumer confidence dipped in August. The Conference Board's Consumer Confidence Index fell by more than a point from the July reading as consumers became less optimistic about the economy overall. The monthly survey noting that there are concerns about tariffs and higher prices, including on food and groceries. Purchasing plans for homes remained stable, while discretionary spending for dining out, entertainment, and vacations were all down. And in terms of dining out, maybe some people might be going to Cracker Barrel recently or soon. Well, they're doing a 180, ditching the new logo. Cracker Barrel has this new logo out last week that got rid of the older man leaning against the actual Cracker Barrel. Largely negative response resulted. And then late yesterday, the company said, oops, our bad. And that logo is going to go away. We're going to go back to the old logo. The old timer will remain. And by the way, that old timer is Uncle Herschel. President Trump had weighed in on the controversy, advising the restaurant chain to admit its big mistake, which it has. A federal whistleblower says the Trump administration's DOGE team uploaded the Social Security numbers of over 300 million Americans into the so-called cloud.
The New York Times says the chief data officers raised concerns that DOGE staffers had bypassed safeguards and circumvented a court order to create a copy of the Social Security Administration's entire data collection onto a network of servers with no security controls. The whistleblower did not allege the cloud had been hacked, but warned that Americans' personal data was threatened and could be used to steal their identities. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
WABC News Time, 5:58 here on the 77 WABC 5 a.m. News Hour. James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden. And just because he's getting lined up right now to tell us what's coming up on Sid and Friends in the Morning, why not mention Taylor Swift is getting married? Or is it Travis Kelce who's getting married?
Who cares?
I mean, they are getting married to each other, bringing together the world of sports and entertainment. And
We're
so,
very happy.
since we always do that on Sid and Friends in the Morning, why not turn to the executive producer, Justin Ellick, to find out what's going on today?
Well, I am happy for my future Hall of Famer, Jason Kelce, who will presumably be the best man at that wedding.
Yeah, I mean, he'll definitely be there, and it's going to be one of the weddings of the century, I guess.
Well, congratulations to Jason, then, for that great honor.
Yes, isn't that? All right, so you're really just going to focus on the Eagles, then.
Yeah, and kicking us off here today in the way of guests on Sid and Friends in the Morning, James Flippin. Jennifer Harrison will join us in the 6 a.m. hour right around 6:50 this morning, right before Joe Borelli, the great former councilman, joins us right around 7:35. We'll talk to Curtis once again, obviously the Republican candidate for mayor, live here in studio right around 7:50, helping to wrap out the 7 a.m. hour. Right before the relentless patriot that is Scott Lebedo joins us in the 8 a.m. hour today, usually on around 9:30, but he'll be on at 8:35 today, right before Monica Crowley joins the program right around 8:50, wrapping out the 8 a.m. hour. She was a familiar face at the White House. I think it was last week during this big summit welcoming in all of these world leaders. And in the 9 a.m. hour, we'll have Emily Austin here as well right around 9:35. It's all coming up your hump day. Tunnel to Towers edition. Sid and Friends in the Morning. James Flippin coming at you in a few short moments.
All right, that's Justin Ellick as we get ready for Sid and Friends in the Morning. Sid Rosenberg is getting in the hopper. He's warming up the microphone. That'll do it for us. Tomorrow, we can thankfully move on from celebrity weddings, but we will know what chipmaker NVIDIA had to say about its earnings. That's a market mover. Wall Street will be in focus. Jobless claims due tomorrow, as well as pending home sales. And so stay tuned on the 5 a.m. News Hour. James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden, who's on vacation. Coming your way next, Sid and Friends in the Morning.
The 77 WABC mobile app. Download it now.